The first prohormone to enter the commercial supplement market was dihydroepiandrosterone, also known as DHEA. This was introduced in the early 80s. However, there was a problem with these initial DHEA supplements because they were produced from a plant whose name escapes me at the moment. I can't remember, but anyway, it was produced from plant sterols, and unfortunately, a lot of the early DHEA supplements actually contained only plant sterols. The way DHEA was produced is the plant sterols were converted into DHEA through an enzyme that was basically produced in the lab. It was synthetic. Unfortunately, a lot of let's say crooked supplement sellers, instead of actually selling actual DHEA, they just sold these plant steroids or sterols, which had no real anabolic activity. The FDA caught up with them and removed DHEA supplements from the market in the late 80s. And then the next change occurred with the passage of the 1994 Dietary Supplement Act, which allowed supplements such as DHEA to be legally sold on the market. DHEA itself returned. This time it was actual DHEA. But the problem with DHEA is it's kind of controversial because theoretically the DHEA could be converted into various other steroids, including estrogen and testosterone. However, in men, it takes varied pathways. It rarely becomes estrogen, but it more often turns into dihydrotestosterone or dihydrotestosterone metabolite, which is the DHT itself is a metabolite of testosterone, but the DHT metabolites are associated with acne, male pattern baldness, and prostate enlargement. So that's a problem. However, usually when men take DHEA, they don't get much of a muscle building effect because very little of it is converted into testosterone. Interestingly enough, however, DHEA is always converted into testosterone in women, and it's very reliable prohormone for women. However, 50% of women who use DHEA supplements often get acne. That's one of the common side effects of DHEA. In fact, DHEA is the cause of teenage acne. When people reach adolescence, their body starts kicking out larger amounts of DHEA, and it stimulates the production of sebum, this oily stuff in the skin. The bacteria act on it, and there's your acne. So DHEA, you can say, is one of the root causes of teenage acne. However, it can cause acne in adults also, very rarely in men, but more commonly in women. So DHEA was an ineffective prohormone. The next big step came in, I'd say, the mid-90s. Androstenedione. Androstenedione. It was a obscure, let's say, pathway in the production of testosterone. It was one step past DHEA. In other words, you have a cascade of conversion starting at cholesterol. There's about 5 or 6 steps. You get various hormones are produced, which culminates in the production of testosterone. Androstenedione was one step past DHEA, and it was thought to be a more direct precursor for testosterone. So it hit the bodybuilding market probably, I'd say, around 95, 96, became a big bestseller, particularly garnered some publicity when one of the, I forget his name, the guy who was going for the whole, Mark McGuire, he was supposedly taking androstenedione supplements in his quest to break the long-standing home run record, and it got a big reputation that really boosted the sales. However, when androstenedione was put to the test in various independent studies, it was shown that while larger doses actually did produce some testosterone in male bodies, it was very ineffective, and the larger the dose, the greater the side effects. And smaller doses, which were the recommended doses on supplement bottles, actually had a greater chance of converting into estrogen than testosterone. So androstenedione fell by the wayside. But because of the tremendous sales success of androstenedione, a lot of companies weren't finished with the prohormones, so they started to dredge up. I'm not going to go into a complete list of all the prohormones that came out. Suffice to say that most of them didn't work very well. A lot of them caused liver problems. The worst of the prohormones, however, came with what I call the last generation. These were these were actual discarded old anabolic steroids that were developed by large drug companies in the early 60s, but were never actually marketed. There was a book that cataloged all the steroid structures. It was a book published in 1968 by Julius Vida, and anyone who knew about steroid chemistry could actually produce these discarded old steroids, and that's exactly what they did. But there was a reason why these steroids never hit the market, because animal toxicity studies showed that the benefits, or I should say the side effects, greatly outweighed the benefits. In other words, they did provide very potent anabolic effects. Some of them were as strong or stronger than existing anabolic steroids. However, a lot of them, particularly when ingested orally, cause severe liver problems. So when some of these old discarded steroids came to the market under names such as Superdrol, a lot of people who used them developed severe liver problems. Some of them developed liver failure and had to get liver transplants. There was 1 or 2 cases of prostate cancer, but that might have been caused by something else. But the point is that it kind of got out of hand, this pro-hormone stuff. So the government stepped in. First in 2004, Congress passed the Anabolic Steroid Control Act, which attempted to remove from sale a lot of these so-called pro-hormones. However, that again didn't stop the supplement purveyors. They came up, dredged they came up with these old anabolic steroids that were not on the list of banned drugs in the 2004 law. So they continued to sell these old steroids and call them pro-hormones. They were not pro-hormones, they were hormones with all the attendant side effects of testosterone and anabolic steroids. Of course, they did work, but you risked a lot of possible side effects, such as, like I said, usually liver problems. Again, it took a couple of years, took another 10 years for the FDA and other federal authorities to figure out what was going on. And that led to the passage by Congress of the it was called the Designer Steroid Control Act in 2014. It was signed by President Obama. This law extended the authority of the 2004 law by specifically naming most of the existing so-called pro-hormone drugs, which were actual anabolic steroids. They specifically listed them and outlawed them. Not only that, but they increased the fines and the penalties, where I think you can get up to 10 years in prison, something like I forget whether it's $100,000 or $250,000 fine. So in other words, if you were caught selling these steroids and calling them pro-hormones, you face some pretty stiff penalties. But the supplement companies they could not ignore such a profitable product, because so many people have this idea, they don't want to take anabolic steroids, bodybuilders or just recreational lifters. They don't want to take anabolic steroids, but they want to get bigger, they want to get muscular, so they want to take something that's going to increase testosterone. So the market for so-called pro-hormones was still there. So the supplement purveyors had to come up with something else. Remember I said that DHA was the original pro-hormone? Remember I said it didn't work very well, right? Well, what these guys did is they took analogs, or let's say, what can I say, structural byproducts of the DHA molecule, and they tinkered with it, and they made all kinds of claims about how they were very anabolic and they androgenic, and they would cause all these gains. They were able to skirt the law because DHEA is still legal. DHA is legal to sell. So, these guys that were selling these DHEA analogs could call them pro-hormones, and they were not subject to the law because they were selling basically DHA. They didn't call it DHA, they called it various names. A lot of them, when they listed the DHA content, they wouldn't call it DHA. They list the chemical name of DHA, which no one other than chemists recognize as being DHA. So a lot of these so-called pro-hormones were nothing more than DHA, and the rest of them were DHA analogs. Recently, I noticed, I'll give you an example of something that I noticed recently, and I'm talking about this because this is typical of what's going on right now in pro-hormone supplements. And this is a typical pro-hormone supplement. What it is again, it consists of 2 analogs of DHA. And what they are dihydroandrostenol and androsterone. And then they combine it in one, and they sell it And there is. I hasten to add, and this is an important point. There's no actual human studies on this stuff. I mean, this stuff is produced in the body because, again, when DHA is metabolized, these substances are produced as DHA is metabolized. So it is produced in the body in small amounts, which makes it natural, if you want to call it that. But they are actual drugs. The question is, do they work? And unfortunately, it's hard to answer because there's no human studies. What the only thing I was able to find was this patent application of a company. I guess it was produced by a company that's selling it, and they included two. They did their own in-house studies. One of them involved providing this combination of dihydroandrostenol and androsterone. Again, DHA analogs. They provided it to goats. I don't know why they used goats. I couldn't tell you, but they gave goats escalating dosages of 50 milligrams for maybe 2 weeks, 100 milligrams for another 2 weeks, and then 200 milligrams. And the study lasted 8 weeks. And the goats some of the goats ate their normal food, but they didn't take this stuff. The other goats did use the supplement. The goats that used the supplement, according to the patent application, they gained 80% more weight than the goats not given the drug. So, all right, you can say, okay, big deal, goats. Did they do any human studies? Yes. According to this patent patent study, they did studies. Again, this is not published. For all we know, these studies never occurred. Anyone could get a patent. All you got to do is hire a lawyer, somebody who knows how to write patent. A patent does not mean any indication of effectiveness. Anyone can apply for a patent. Doesn't mean a damn thing. It is not any form of scientific proof. I want you to know that because I'm reading off this patent. Anyway, they did a study supposedly with two bodybuilders. One of them was 23 years old. He took 100 milligrams of this combination of, again, dihydroandrostenol and androsterone. Took it for 16 weeks. He supposedly gained over 15 pounds of solid muscle. He took a 20 milligram dose 5 times a day. So I just want to also read a little bit off. I'm going to read directly now from the patent. See what it said. The present disclosure relates generally to a dietary supplement which stimulates androgenic and anabolic expression, more particularly in a dietary supplement containing an endogenous androgenic corticose metabolite. That's a fancy way of saying DHEA. And even more particularly to a dietary supplement containing dihydroandrosterol that promotes muscle growth. Okay, basically, then it says the composition may further include at least one ester, ether, or salt of dihydroandrosterol, or a combination thereof. Additionally, or alternatively, the composition may further include at least one isomer or stereoisomer or isoster of dihydroandrosterol or a combination thereof. Basically, what they're saying is that combining these two substances potentiates the substance and makes it much more powerful than including only one. And they also say that taking this supplement will potentiate any other, let's say, steroids that you're taking, other prohormones. Taking this combination supposedly will potentiate, make the other supplements work even better. So let's see what else it says. It says, here it says DHA. That's the main stuff. Oh, here, an effective amount of DHA, not to be confused with DHA in fish oil. Again, DHA refers to the main ingredient, dihydroandrostenol. An effective amount of DHA in humans is believed to be between 10 milligrams to about 300 milligrams, but the effective amount can be outside of this range for particular applications. For example, in some situations, the effective amount of DHA is between 25 to 75 milligrams. In one particular example, the effective amount of DHA is between 50 to 100 milligrams. In another example, the effective amount of DHA is between 250 to about 400 milligrams. Additionally, less than 10 milligrams of DHA. In other words, they don't even know what the actual effective dose is. They're saying it varies. It has DHA has a relative androgenic activity equivalent to 43% of that of testosterone. What else? Oh, here's the interesting stuff over here. They're talking about the human volunteers. 2 human male volunteers were selected to pre-trial the DHA material by single daily oral administration. Both were mature age, not naive to various exogenous applied androgens. In other words, they'd used steroids, and they were in good general health. Food and exercise routine was not modified. Both test subjects noted subjective improvements as defined by weight, strength, and muscle hardness gain over a month testing period. Doses were ramped 50 milligrams weekly, beginning at 50 and concluding at 200 milligrams. One of the test subjects took a 2-week washout after this initial testing regimen and resumed testing at 100 milligram, ramping the dose weekly as prior, but using 100 milligram increments, such that at 4 weeks of testing, the subject was using 400 milligrams. There's an interesting part here. Here's some of the gains that are claimed. Both subjects noted subjective and objective improvements as defined by weight, strength, and muscle hardness over the testing periods. A summary of these results: all capsules used contained 20 milligram of DHA. Participant number 1 was a 23-year-old male who took 5 capsules a day or 100 milligrams of DHA for 16 weeks. At the end of the trial, he had gained 15 pounds and improved his single repetition leg squats from 430 pounds at the beginning to 545 pounds at the end. His deadlift increased from 455 at the beginning to 560 pounds at the end, and bench press from 270 at the beginning to 340 at the end. Trial participant number 2 was a 22-year-old male who took 4 capsules a day or 80 milligrams a day of DHEA for 6 weeks. At the end of the trial, this participant had gained 12 pounds and improved all major lifting measurements by 20 to 25 pounds from start to finish. Okay, now, what are the claims made? I actually looked up this particular supplement on the web, and I'm not going to give the name of it because I'm not trying to push this stuff. And frankly, I think it's garbage. I don't think it works. And so I'm certainly not going to tell you to take this crap. It's just a fancy form of DHEA. But this is the claims made on the website. Increased muscle hardness, density, and vascularity. Promotes alpha male on feeling, whatever that means. Increases fat lipolysis and oxidation. Promotes increased energy, combats energy, which is BS. Potently increases strength, boosts libido. May not do that. Dry compound, non-aromatizing, non-methylated. In other words, it's not going to hurt your liver. Non-liver toxic, extreme body recomp. How much does it cost? $76 a bottle. And you have to take anywhere from 3 to 5 capsules a day. So we're talking about it, and that doesn't include tax and shipping, by the way. So this could turn out to be quite an expensive proposition. But hey, what's the point? What point am I trying to make here? Okay, to sum up, this particular supplement represents the current state of prohormones. And what I'm saying to you, I'll be blunt about it, save your money. I don't think this stuff's going to do a damn thing. There's not a single human study, I'll repeat, not a single human study that proves the efficacy. All we have is their word on stuff like patent applications, which doesn't mean a damn thing. Anyone can make this stuff up. We have no evidence that the bodybuilders cited in this study made these gains. It could be pure fiction. We don't know it. All I know is that this stuff is basically an analog of DHEA. DHEA never worked very well to begin with. It very rarely increased testosterone, did increase DHT a little bit, and tended to increase estrogen, particularly in older men. Avoid prohormone supplements today. None of them, they might be legal, but none of them are any good. I would say don't waste your money. It's absolute garbage. That's all I'm going to say about it. If you want further information about supplements, the truth about supplements, like I said here, I don't pull any punches. I'm not associated with any supplement company. I'm going to tell you the truth. I want to relay the complete truth. Somebody has to be a voice of truth out there because there's so much bullshit lies about supplements and the whole thing. Somebody has to tell the truth. You can't depend on these PhDs and these so-called experts because a lot of them are on the payroll of supplement companies. They're not going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth in my Applied Metabolics newsletter. I also talk about hormonal therapy. I talk about anti-aging research, fat loss techniques that work, ergogenic aids, hormonal therapy, exercise science, women's health and fitness, many other topics. It's 40 to 50 pages every month. No advertisements, no commercial ties, just solid information. www.appliedmetabolics.com. If you subscribe, I'll send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook page, where every day I post new information about nutrition, exercise, science, general medicine, and health. I also answer questions on the Facebook page. That's the Applied Metabolics Facebook page, only for subscribers. I also have a email portal on my website, appliedmetabolics.com. It's strictly for current subscribers of my Applied Metabolics newsletter, who could send me questions about anything they read in the newsletter, or they can ask me questions not related to newsletter, as long as they're short questions that don't require like 4-page answers. It has to be short. I don't have time to give extended answers. However, I will do that for only current subscribers. I don't answer unsolicited questions because I appreciate the support of my subscribers, so I will answer their questions, but I won't answer questions submitted to me by people who are not subscribers. You're welcome to leave comments under these videos. I can't guarantee that I'll answer them. You could leave suggestions if you want for future videos. I'll try, if they're within reason, I'll try and possibly do videos on suggestions. However, I generally avoid doing steroid videos and hard drug videos because, again, they're frowned upon by Google, and they can actually remove the entire channel if you're making I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to risk that. So I will not talk about, not going to give suggestions on what facts about steroids and how to use them. Ain't going to happen. Not going to do it. You can find that information elsewhere. I'm not going to talk about it in video, so don't ask. So that's about it. If you want to have the best friend you'll ever have, go to your local shelter, adopt a dog. They're the best. They're the best. Take care.